Far below the weather, below waves and storms and sunlight, the ocean becomes a place of pressure, cold and unfinished stories. Here, shape gives way to suggestion. A pale movement vanishes into black water. A ringed scar on the head of a whale rises to the surface, like a message from a fight no human has ever truly seen. For centuries, the giant squid exists this way in science, not as a familiar animal, but as evidence scattered through darkness. Beaks in sperm whale stomachs, torn tentacles on fishing lines, bodies washing ashore already changed by death. It is real, measurable, anatomical. And yet almost everything about it feels like an exception. Today we're diving into why nothing about giant squids is normal. Not their size, not their eyes, not the chemistry that lets them hang in the deep, not the way they seem to belong everywhere and nowhere at once. Even by the extravagant standards of squid, the giant squid is a biological outlier animal, shaped by an environment so difficult to study that even now, much of its life remains hidden inside the ocean that made it. The first strange thing about a giant squid is that its size is almost misleading. In popular imagination, it becomes a simple monster, a single impossible measurement. But the real animal is stranger than that. Its body is not built like a compact giant. Its mantle is relatively narrow. Its head is long and cylindrical. Its 8 arms are thick and muscular, but its 2 feeding tentacles are something else entirely, astonishingly long, specialized extensions that can shoot outward through the water like living capture devices. Much of the squid's famous length comes from those tentacles, not from the main body itself. That matters, because the giant squid is not simply an ordinary squid enlarged in every direction. It is stretched, reorganized, built into a hunting system for a world where visibility is poor and opportunity is brief. Its anatomy is not bulky in the way land mammals become bulky. It is elongated, strategic, almost mechanical. At the center of the arms sits the mouth, armed with a powerful chitinous beak. It does not chew the way a vertebrate does. It cuts, tears. Behind the beak is the radula, a ribbon of tooth-like structures that helps drag flesh inward. Everything about the animal feels less like a face and more like an apparatus. This is what makes the giant squid unsettling in such a specific way. It is large, but not in a way the human mind finds easy to process. We understand the bulk of a whale, the reach of a giraffe, the height of an elephant. But the giant squid is a different kind of scale. It is an animal whose size is distributed into extensions, into strike range, into weapons built for dark water. It is not just big, it is engineered by deep sea logic. And then there are the eyes. Among all the strange features of the giant squid, the eyes may be the most extraordinary. They can approach the size of dinner plates, even larger, up to around 30 centimeters across. They are the largest known eyes in the animal kingdom. For a long time, that fact alone seems explanation enough. The deep sea is dark. Of course, a deep-sea animal would need enormous eyes. But the deeper answer is more specific and far more haunting. In the world of the giant squid, sight is not about appreciating detail. At those depths, sunlight is weak or gone entirely. There is no horizon in any familiar sense. No landscape, no clear edges. Vision becomes less about seeing a world and more about detecting one urgent fact in time. Something is coming. One leading idea suggests that the squid's giant eyes are especially useful not for finding prey or mates, but for detecting a predator, specifically the sperm whale. A sperm whale moving through the deep does not simply appear. It disturbs the darkness around it. As it passes through bioluminescent plankton, it may trigger faint, diffuse glows in the water. To an animal with enormous eyes, that soft bloom of light may be enough. Not a detailed image, not a face, just a warning. A signal that something huge is approaching through the black. If that is true, then the most famous feature of the giant squid is not a symbol of dominance at all. It is a survival instrument. A last line of detection in a place where being late by a few seconds may mean being torn apart by a whale. That predator-prey relationship is one of the reasons science knows the giant squid so well before ever seeing it alive. Again and again, sperm whales rise to the surface carrying circular scars across their heads and bodies. Some are fresh. Some are old and layered over each other. These scars match the suckers lining the giant squid's arms and tentacles. They are evidence of battles fought in deep water, far below any witness. Inside stranded whales, scientists also find giant squid beaks, hard, indigestible remains that survive long after soft tissue has vanished. Long before deep-sea cameras, this is how the giant squid enters science. Not as spectacle, but as residue. As the surviving trace of a struggle inside another animal. It is a remarkable reversal. One of the largest invertebrates on Earth becomes visible through the skin and stomach of its enemy. The battles themselves remain unseen, but their geometry is preserved. Circular scars, broken tissue. Beaks carried upward through the bodies of whales. For generations, this is the giant squid's biography, IP. Not observed directly, but reconstructed from damage. That indirect evidence shapes an early image of the animal. Heavy, sluggish, suspended in the water, waiting for prey to drift close. It seems plausible. In the deep sea, energy is expensive. Food is uncertain. A neutrally buoyant ambush predator makes sense. But then, science catches the animal in the act. In 2004, off Japan's Ogasawara Islands, researchers lower baited camera systems to around 900 meters. In water beyond the reach of sunlight, a giant squid attacks. It does not drift in slowly. It strikes. It approaches from a horizontal position. Its long tentacles shoot forward and wrap around the bait. And then, instead of vanishing, it returns repeatedly, struggling for more than an hour. This moment changes something important. The giant squid is no longer just a carcass, a scar, a rumor supported by anatomy. It moves. It behaves. It shows intent. More than 500 images are captured, along with a severed tentacle later confirmed by DNA. And what the images reveal is not a lazy drifting giant, but an active predator, persistent, forceful, investigative. The tentacles do not simply hang from the body like decorative lines. They are muscular tools, thrown outward with purpose. The animal appears alert, engaged, willing to struggle. The deep sea has a way of making animals seem hypothetical, until they move. Then suddenly anatomy becomes explanation. A body that looks bizarre on land makes sense in water. The giant squid's exaggerated reach is no longer excess. It is a strategy. In darkness, in vastness, when prey may appear only briefly, a missed strike matters. Reach matters. Speed matters. Commitment matters. That lesson returns a few years later, when a live giant squid is filmed in its natural habitat, using a glowing lure designed to imitate the bioluminescent signals associated with food. The significance of the footage is not just that the squid is finally seen, it is that the method matters. Bright lights and noisy machines seem to drive these animals away. To find them, researchers have to become quieter, less intrusive, more patient, more like the deep sea itself. The squid approaches not because it is stumbling blindly through darkness, but because it is making a decision. It sees a cue, it investigates, it strikes. This is not the behavior of a mindless relic. It is the behavior of a hunter, tuned to subtle information. Later encounters in the Gulf of Mexico reinforce the same pattern. Again, a carefully designed lure. Again, a brief appearance. Again, the strong suggestion that the animal avoids bright, invasive technology. One of the largest and most iconic animals on Earth turns out to be so difficult to study that major scientific progress depends on making our presence almost invisible. To understand the giant squid, human technology has to stop acting like the surface world. Its buoyancy may be the strangest adaptation of all, because even the chemistry inside the squid refuses to be ordinary. Out of water, the animal is heavy, muscular, substantial. In water, it becomes something closer to suspended flesh. Part of that is because giant squid tissues contain unusually high concentrations of ammonium ions. Those ions reduce tissue density, helping the squid maintain its position in the water without expending as much energy through constant swimming. This is not a minor adjustment. It changes the economics of being giant in the deep sea. A large body is expensive. Muscle is expensive. Movement is expensive. In a place where meals may be rare and distances immense, wasting energy can be fatal. The giant squid's chemistry helps solve that problem. Instead of fighting gravity the way many active swimmers do, it cheats the balance. It becomes lighter in the water than its size should allow. Even that adaptation comes with odd consequences. Freshly stranded giant squid can smell and taste strongly of ammonia. The romance of the sea monster dissolves into biochemistry, and yet that only makes the animal more extraordinary. Its legend is not sustained by exaggeration. It is sustained by the fact that the truth is already strange enough. The giant squid is not merely a large animal that happens to live deep. It is an animal whose tissues have been chemically adjusted for the deep and evolutionary compromise between bulk, energy, and survival. Its distribution is just as odd. Bodies are found across vast stretches of the world's oceans, from the North Atlantic to waters near New Zealand, from Pacific Islands to the Southern Atlantic. For a long time, that scattered geography raises a natural question. Are these all the same animal? Or are there several giant squid species hidden under one famous name? For years, scientists debate the issue. Some suspect multiple species. That would make sense. After all, populations separated by oceans often diverge, but genetic studies suggest something more surprising. Giant squid from very distant regions appear to belong to a single global species, with remarkably low genetic diversity and little obvious geographic structure. That is deeply unusual. One explanation is that the early life stages of giant squid may be carried long distances by ocean currents, before settling into deeper habitats as they mature. If so, then the adults we almost never see may be linked by a planetary transport system operating far beyond human notice. The ocean itself becomes a mechanism of genetic continuity. There is something profoundly strange in that image. An animal almost never observed alive, yet connected across the globe. A creature so elusive it seems local only when dead, but so widely mixed in life that oceans fail to divide it. And then there is reproduction, perhaps the least normal and least knowable part of all. Scientists know some pieces. Males produce spermatophores, packets of sperm. Certain arms are modified for reproductive transfer. Females carry large reproductive structures capable of producing enormous numbers of eggs. But the full sequence of mating, fertilization, egg release, and development remains uncertain. No one has watched a complete giant squid courtship in the wild. No one has followed mating from beginning to end in its natural setting. No one has clearly documented the full reproductive cycle in the deep. For such a famous creature, this is extraordinary. The giant squid is world famous, and yet some of the most basic facts about how it begins its next generation remain obscure. That absence matters because reproduction is where evolution reveals its priorities most clearly. Survival is one thing, continuation is another. To understand how a species really works, scientists need to see not only how it hunts and escapes, but how it mates, how it lays down its future in the sea. In the giant squid, that part of the story still fades into darkness. Even the genome, when finally studied, does not turn the animal into something ordinary. Researchers uncover a genetic blueprint consistent with cephalopod complexity features, linked to nervous system development, body patterning, and the unique biology of squid. It suggests an animal built from the same broad evolutionary toolkit as other cephalopods, but pushed along a lineage already known for unusual bodies, advanced sensory systems, and astonishing flexibility. But even here, the mystery is not erased. The genome is informative, but incomplete. Fresh tissue is difficult to obtain. High-quality samples are rare. The giant squid enters genetics the way it enters everything else, partially, belatedly, and at a distance. We learn something real, but not everything. The animal remains, even at the molecular level, one step ahead of complete understanding. To ask why nothing about giant squids is normal is really to ask what normal would even mean for a squid in the deep sea. Most squid live within a set of trade-offs: speed against efficiency, growth against vulnerability, visibility against camouflage. The giant squid pushes those trade-offs into extremes. Its eyes are too large to be cheap. Its tentacles are too long to be simple. Its buoyancy depends on altered chemistry. Its greatest enemy is a whale that hunts by sound in a realm where sight is nearly useless, unless it is taken to an extreme. Its life may involve global dispersal and local invisibility. Its encounters with humans are brief, distorted, accidental, and usually incomplete. This is not just an animal enlarged by deep water. It is an animal reorganized by deep water. And perhaps that is the most important point of all. In the deep ocean, there is no room for decorative excess. If a feature is costly, it must solve something. If it persists because it answers a problem imposed by darkness, pressure, scarcity, or predation. The giant squid looks extravagant to us because we do not live where it lives. To the deep sea, it may be something far more disciplined, a set of expensive but necessary solutions to an environment where ordinary design stops working. And still, for all the measurements and recovered tissues and filmed encounters, the giant squid remains defined by what we do not know. We do not know how often adults meet. We do not know exactly how they reproduce. We do not know their full lifespan. We do not know what a completely ordinary day in the life of a healthy adult giant squid looks like. We infer behavior from attacks on bait. We infer diet from stomach contents. We infer distribution from strandings and genetic fragments. This is real science, but it is science working at the edge of visibility. The giant squid reminds us that ignorance is not always temporary. Sometimes it is built into the world itself. This animal lives in a volume of the planet that remains difficult, expensive, and rare to enter. It spends its life in a darkness that does not care whether we understand it. That may be the final reason nothing about giant squids is normal. They expose the limits of a species that maps continents, sequences genomes, and still struggles to witness one large invertebrate simply living its life. In the deep, the giant squid is no longer a myth, but it is not fully known either. Somewhere below, in cold water under crushing pressure, it still moves through a world with no audience. Its eyes still search the dark. Its tentacles still extend into empty water, waiting for contact. Its body still holds itself aloft with unusual chemistry. And its life still unfolds mostly beyond us. Not because it is imaginary, but because the ocean that made it is still, in the most important ways, larger than our reach.